Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to start your day. And I'm really excited about this today because we're finishing something up. We're finishing something up. How cool is that? So, and then hopefully we take that information and continue to move it forward in the world over and over and over again. So, I'm going to give it a minute here while some of you pop on. Good morning, Joe Neal. Glad you're here. You're first today. How awesome. And it looks like someone else has popped on. Glad you're here. Welcome. Cindy, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, and Carolyn, awesome. I was thinking, popping on a few minutes early, that maybe people wouldn't find me for a bit. Looks like you're all rolling in just fine. Good morning, Peggy. Welcome. Glad the practical rebels are coming together here. So, and I'm, again, excited about this reading today because I feel like it's going to, what I see is hands opening up and releasing something. So, we're about to be released into the world with this, all of this wisdom, knowledge, etc. So for those of you who have it and like to track along with me, good morning, Abigail. Welcome, welcome. We have Sharon Ellison, Taking the War Out of Our Words, the Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication. And had a meeting last night that did not go particularly well, and if I had reviewed some of this prior to, I might have made a few changes in terms of how I managed things, but I feel like I did manage as best I could given the circumstances. So, and it was one of those cases where people are looking at things differently, and so I'm appreciating this end of the book. So this is it, the end of the book. See how thick this is? We made it all the way through the book. Yay us. So we are on the conclusion, which is called Peace and Power. What a powerful title, right? Good morning, Janine. Welcome. Glad you're here. Welcome to anybody that I missed as you rolled past while I was talking. But I think this is going to set us up well for taking what we've learned and moving it out into the world. Am I going to be referencing this book over and over and over again? Yeah, it probably is going to become similar to Outrageous Openness, good morning, Gwen, which sits right here and may end up being something that we go back to periodically and grab a piece and revisit it and help it begin to weld into our memory bank so that we can utilize it when we need it. But today we have the conclusion, peace and power. So, some nice deep breaths. Let's open ourselves up to receive this send-off. And we have my favorite number 8 of people on here right now. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Barb. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just opening, receptive, ready for these words. Again, those of you who have the book, we are in Taking the War Out of Our Words, the Art of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication, page 264. Good morning, Mel. Glad you're here. Peace and power. Albert Einstein said, "It has become appallingly clear that our technology has surpassed our humanity." Could we repeat those words now? Our technology has surpassed our humanity. Ding, 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 ding. By humanity, I believe Einstein was referring to our capacity to treat one another with compassion, to work together to solve the problems we face as a species, and to envision ways to align our destinies as Homo sapiens with the survival of the intricate web of all creation. She's singing my tune here. She's singing my tune. We must come together in circles where everyone is equal, and that was part of the issue with the meeting that did not go well last night, which was followed immediately by another meeting that was set up in a circular fashion and went so much better and felt really good. And one of the other participants on the second meeting remarked that when he now attends meetings that are more hierarchical in structure, board meetings, etc., he longs for the circular kinds of meetings. And I'm like, totally get it. Totally get it. So she says regarding Einstein's quote, although I agree with him, I also believe we can change our course before we allow technology to completely overwhelm us. I think we are currently witnessing a deepening shift in human consciousness demonstrated by the growing number of people who are affirming the relationships between quantum physics, deep ecology, feminist theory, spirituality, psychology, and social justice. Yes, 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 yes. And when was this written? I'm going to go back. She is so forward-thinking. Where is it? 1998. 1998. And this is how she was speaking, and we're walking the path right now. Many of us realize that only if we act upon an ethic of interdependence will we ensure the survival of civilization for future generations. My hope is that powerful non-defensive communication can be a tool for continuing evolution of human consciousness. How cool is that? In order for us to close the gap between our vast technology and our full humanity, I believe we must recognize that the methods we use for person-to-person verbal communication are tied umbilically to the expression of our human nature. How we communicate not only shapes our individual lives, it also drives our human destiny. Again, remember the example of people viewing a car accident and it being asked how fast were the cars go when they bumped together versus how fast were the cars going when they smashed together. And that one word difference created perceptual differences in reporting. We get this all day, every day. Look at the difference between people who view Good Morning Linda, one kind of news program versus another kind of news program. You get my drift. How we talk and listen creates enormous energy, and the energy has inestimable power. One of our primary tasks, I would suggest, is to hold ourselves accountable for the power we wield with every question, every statement, every prediction we make. That's why she gives so many examples with words attached, so we can see how she does this thing. And I'm sure all of us have had that experience of saying something and after the fact seeing a reaction, wishing we had picked just one different word and it would have made a world of difference, right? So this is about us being conscious in our choices of the words that we choose. Power is defined as an ability either to produce or to undergo an effect. So now she's going to talk some about different kinds of power. How interesting in our times that we're talking about power. In his article on two kinds of power, Bernard Loomer suggests that the kind of power we use determines our level of individual and social fulfillment. He suggests that our lives and our thoughts have traditionally been dominated by what he calls unilateral or non-mutual power, designed to control and manipulate others. That definition, I believe, fits the understanding of power we express when we are entrenched in what I have labeled the war model of communication. So what she just said was, the way we speak lends itself to that controlling, manipulative power. The words we choose lead us to that controlling, manipulative power. Clearly, we don't want to go there, and we certainly don't want to go there anymore. So, since the focus of unilateral power is on controlling others, it follows that being influenced by someone else or even receiving anything from others means weakness and a lack of power in Loomer's terms. And how many of us feel that? And I think Brene Brown has done an excellent job of trying to counter that being vulnerable, hearing what others have to say is not a weakness. It's actually a profound strength. Okay, let's see what else we got. This causes us to ward off any influence others might have over us and breaks down the give and take required for reciprocal relationships. I have been marveling lately at how impenetrable people are when you're trying to introduce a new concept, a new idea, a new thought process, even when you preface it with, You don't have to change anything about what you're thinking. I'd just like you to hear this perspective and then give me some feedback on it. If you hate it, fine. But at least hear it. At least hear it. It also means we are likely to experience someone else's gain in power as a loss of our own power and therefore our status and sense of worth. So we play that zero-sum game, right? Instead of believing there's abundance of power for each of us to effect change, we believe if someone else has power, we have less. Faulty reasoning. Let's see. Moreover, we often respond to someone else's efforts to control us with a unilateral attempt to be the one who controls. I remember working with a guy who, good morning, Linda, who was court ordered to see me. And as we were working on the issue, he had gotten in a fight with somebody and beat them pretty badly. And his philosophy was, there's two kinds of people in this world, them's that gets the beatings and them's that gives the beatings. He clearly did not want to be the one on the receiving end, so he was going to be the one on the giving end. Many people refer to unilateral power as the power over species of power. It does have the ability to produce an effect, but that effect is rarely lasting and often unsatisfying in the long run. It simply creates ongoing struggle. Moreover, it only focuses on one half of the whole definition of power because it doesn't place a positive value on the undergoing an effect. When I think about how many people I know who feel weak, even when they receive loving help from others, or doubt their own self-worth in the face of someone else's accomplishments, I am keenly aware of how many of us share assumptions about power that we accept as given. That power is about over and under, win and lose. Any of us been trained in that model? When those assumptions are not questioned, the reality we build on them is simply accepted as the norm. Thus, millions of people join together in the virtual reality created by the unilateral or power over understanding of power. And as I have demonstrated in the first part of this book, the belief that we must have power over others in order to meet our needs and even to survive has had catastrophic effects on all of us. This is not serving us well. We need more and more of us to move away from this model, the us versus them model, the they win, I lose model. We got to get rid of that. While I think it is impossible to have purely unilateral power, if it were, it would all be in one direction. Using an analogy of electricity, this movement is somewhat like the direct currency, DC electricity, that Thomas Edison discovered. So now she's going to do a description of power as if it were electricity to help us kind of grasp this some more. When two people, each using unilateral power, try to interact, they are pitting their direct currents of energy against each other. While one or the other may have the greater spurts of power, the ultimate effect of bringing two direct currents face to face is to create a series of sparks or mini explosions. The greater the energy flow, the bigger the explosions. These are precisely analogous to the battles in the war model of communication. Involvement in this kind of energy exchange is dangerous and frightening, no matter how often one wins. A conversation between a priest and a tyrant in an episode of The Twilight Zone I saw long ago shows the result of committing our energy to seeking power over others. The tyrant says, "I have enemies. I will continue executions until I have no enemies. I can't live this way. I'm so afraid all the time. If a man has power, he has enemies. If you have power, you have no friends, only followers and enemies. The victory is not so sweet. It is not the taste of wine. It is the taste of ashes." Do we see any of this going on in our world right now? I think the tyrant aptly describes the nihilistic result of using our energy in this unilateral power way. Its effect on our individual lives may not result in physical death, but to varying degrees it certainly can and does destroy relationships. We defend ourselves by warding off the influence of others and assert ourselves by trying to gain control over other people's reactions. We become adversaries. Like the tyrant, we feel simultaneously victimized and justified in attacking others. We become superior victim attackers. Ooh, ew, right? Anytime we use defensive communication, we are attempting to use power over others, to control them, no matter how subtle our efforts or how much we think we have someone else's good in mind. Good morning, Angie. Welcome, welcome. Every interaction with another person becomes a microcosm of the use of power that ultimately skews the essential reciprocity of the whole relationship. If we want that back and forth, we cannot operate from this kind of power. Each of these larger communities becomes a microcosm of the whole of human energy at war. We need to shift the power of human energy to another current, as it were, in order to evolve to our next stage of consciousness. This is exactly where we're at, you guys. I believe talking non-defensively is an essential part of that process. The second kind of power described by Loomer is relational power, which others of us refer to as power from within. Relational power, as it applies to communication, is the force that propels us to interact without trying to manipulate others into doing what we want. This kind of power incorporates both halves of the whole definition of power. Relational power is focused on the ability both to produce and undergo an effect, to give and receive, because it is based on reciprocity. Or to put it another way, I see relational power in keeping with Fritjof Capra's definition of a healthy ecosystem or a human community where the feedback loops are open. All right? And that was part of the process also with the meeting that went so poorly last night. The feedback loops weren't fully open. You can't help but create the problems that were created in that meeting when that's the system that's operating. Continuing this analogy of power, energy, and electricity, relational power, or power from within, is more like the alternating current, AC, discovered by Nikola Tesla. This form of electricity creates a steady flow because it doesn't all go from one direction to the other unilaterally. Instead, it moves back and forth, energy coursing in both directions as in a circle 8. The symbol sometimes used to denote reciprocity. No wonder I love 8. Reciprocity. We can also relate the circle 8 to Capra's feedback loop because each half of the loop feeds back into the other. When we charge our human energy with relational power as we talk to each other, each interaction goes the full circle 8, creating reciprocity and interdependence and people feeling heard. Okay? Anytime one person or the other shuts the gate on the feedback or reciprocity loop, the give and take vanishes. If I apologize to you for something and you refuse my apology, you have shut the gate. If you accept my apology and forgiveness back to me, but I don't accept that forgiveness, then I have shut the gate. If I apologize, you accept my apology and forgive me, and I do accept your forgiveness, the cycle is complete. Our energy flows in an alternating current. Most of us have, at one time or another, felt the frustration of having the exchange of energy blocked. When the channels of reciprocity stay open, the flow of energy seems almost infinite. Again, it overcomes, it transcends that there's only a finite amount of X, and if you have more, I have less. Blows that right out of the water. Let's see. In fact, I don't believe it's coincidental that the circle 8 is not only a symbol for reciprocity, but also for infinity. There is no end to the channel of energy when power from within is shared freely. I love that. Let's hear that again. There is no end to the channel of energy when power from within is shared freely. On a wider community scale, we can create interlocking webs of reciprocity, relational power, and alternating currents of our energy when we communicate non-defensively in our full power from within. The hallmark of such an exchange can be peace, peaceful power even through struggles and conflict. As each of us shifts to using our energy non-defensively, we create just such open channels. And we can still protect ourselves. Even in our open vulnerability, we are protected because we are able to make predictions that limit how much we give to anyone who is non-reciprocal. So again, it kind of goes back to the Brene Brown stuff, right? That vulnerability is what opens up the channels. I see no way to force others to change their concept of power or make one group of people stop hating another. However, I don't think we have to go out and try to persuade others to change their basic beliefs about how to use power, or even how to talk to each other in order to succeed in using this process. So, this is reassuring. Each of us who wishes to make a change in the use of our energy can simply begin to speak and listen non-defensively. So it doesn't matter what the other person is doing, you're practicing those skills. Every time we do, we change how we use our own power. Interacting non-defensively, not bound in a struggle to gain power over someone else, we may find the other person more willing to disarm than we could have imagined. The whole process can be contagious as each disarmed person offers the opportunity to another. With our current view of human nature, I don't know what percentage of us would have to communicate non-defensively to create the critical mass necessary to have relational power become the norm. But I think it works as simply as adding rye flour to our bread dough. At some point, 1 granule of rye flour turns the dough into the makings for rye bread instead of white bread. That's kind of a useful image to hang on to. 1 more grain creates a different reality. We're working toward that tipping point. In the same way, I think that someday 1 more person speaking non-defensively will shift our collective energy so that it becomes normal to use our power in reciprocal ways, not power over. Until that day, I think we can begin to envision the possibilities for our own human evolution to accelerate so that we can honor the diversity among us, create strong, compassionate relationships, families, and communities, and become wiser about how we relate to the resources our earth shares with us. She's singing my song. The key, I think, is to keep hope for the world and for our capacity to change, and then focus less on the impact we are having on others and more on the integrity of our own process. If we do this, we can each truly say, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." Peace and clarity within each of us contains all the power we need. Pretty awesome, huh? Pretty awesome. Kind of helps instill hope and belief that this change can occur. This change can occur. And all we need to pay attention to is our own use of power and practicing our skills at speaking non-defensively. When we're triggered, can we step back a bit into that curious observer and think about, how do I want to respond to this? And maybe even saying to the other person, give me a minute, I need to think about what I want to say to that. And then making a powerful non-defensive question, statement, prediction, whatever it is. So, we have completed taking the war out of our words. Do we need to go back and review? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I hope you're all very proud of yourselves for having walked through this entire book with me. This is some really powerful stuff. This is the stuff that changed the world in which we live. Have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are. Go forth and communicate non-defensively. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.